Konnichiwa, Suzuka Yokoso. That's right, we are here in the virtual land of the rising sun for round 3 of the third season of iRacing UK Formula 3 League, here live and exclusive on the Total Sim Sport Twitch and YouTube channels. We at Total Sim Sport are proud to present you with this evening's racing, which is brought to you via iRacing, the world's premier motorsport simulator. Domo arigato for joining us here this evening. All the action is brought to you as usual by your usual Tuesday night terrible twosome. I am your host Nick Allen, and with me is my co-commentator this evening. He's a skilled F3 and Formula Renault driver. He's pretty nifty with a camera angle. That's right, he's got more colour than an explosion at a Dulux factory. It's Mr. Chris Rowlands. Woo! Where's the crowd cheering noise gone? Never mind. We'll pick that up next time. Good evening, Chris. Pleasure to have you here this evening with us at a circuit that really has it all to offer when it comes to challenges for our drivers. I mean, we've got long sweeping bends. We've got the S's that require that delicate bit of throttle work to get the cars round. That kind of tough double right-hander of the Degners, which obviously some people might say is a bit similar to the Lesmos at Monza. Lots for them to deal with, and I'm sure we're going to see wheel-to-wheel stuff around Suzuka here tonight. Where's your pick for corners? Who do you think we're going to be looking out for around the race this evening?
Well, we've got quite a lot of drivers tonight. We've got, I believe, 35 in total. A couple of new names as well. We've got Mark Murphy. We've got Paul Busby, who some of you may know from GT3 and being an admin. And we've also got one of our fellow commentators, James Parfitt, dipping his toe into the madness that is F3. But I would say, based on practice earlier, because I'm not very aggressive with my picks, Gavin Petty was about half a tenth quicker than everyone else. So he's my pick for tonight. But if you look at our qualifying standings currently, Matt Lauscher, it's a blast of the past from season 1. We've got Matt Lauscher back out in front.
Yeah, he's been absent from a couple of the rounds so far, so really great to see Matt back in the in the kind of position that we're used to seeing him there, putting in the purple times with a 151.2 in the qualifier. So we mentioned a few of the turns that we were going to be obviously seeing. We've got the hairpin, which is actually a favourite from another commentator you might remember, Josh Wilson, from who was with us last week for Snetterton. He does think that the hairpin is quite a good overtaking spot, but only if you're going to follow close through those Degners that we were talking about, Degner 1 and 2, to kind of set up the manoeuvre. So you need to be nice and tight in behind. Maybe we'll see Josh giving us a little cheeky example of how he can pull that together. So we've also got a couple of other places that Josh was telling us to look out for. He gave us some notes before the race. Obviously a skilled F3 driver himself, and you will see him out on the circuit this evening. 130R, a potential overtaking spot. We do have obviously some historical memories of 130R. So for example, Jean Alesi up the inside of Johnny Herbert in 1995. That was I believe that was a Ferrari versus Benetton battle, was it, at the time? And then 10 years later, in the mid-2000s, Alonso made that daring dive around the outside. If you ever get a chance to watch the onboard camera from that overtake, it's a real testament to the bravery and the skill of the drivers back in the day. Not to say that the modern day drivers aren't equally as skilled, but anyway, while we're on the subject of 130R, it is a brilliant corner for overtakes, but there's also a potential for big incidents there. You step out a little bit too wide onto the green stuff off the tarmac, then you are likely to have a bit of a Code Brown moment. And I tell you who did once upon a time in, I think, 2011, a year before he was on the podium at this race, was Kamui Kobayashi. Enormous moment he had on 130R, put it completely broadside, that car, and recovered it without any damage. And then a year later, he went on to come P2 in his home Grand Prix at Suzuka. So the format for this evening's race, you've got a driver briefing that's already been and gone. That was between 10 to 8 and 8 p.m. Then they've had an hour of open practice star drivers this evening. As Chris mentioned, about 30 plus drivers on the track, so plenty of practice time. I'm sure there's been a lot of traffic out there, and every lap has counted. Now, at 9 o'clock, this qualifying session started. We're currently 14 minutes into it, you can see the countdown clock in the middle top of your screens, and they'll have a few more laps now, about 5 more minutes to get some laps in and put themselves in the premium position they need to be for the start of this race. We're already starting to see the times tumbling down. Gavin Petty is in the 150s, the first person to breach the 150s. We were praising Matt Lubscher earlier for that low 151 time, but he's since been bested by both Alistair Hay and Gavin Petty. This is already looking like the kind of race that we were really, really excited for, and I'm sure that there's going to be action galore all through the laps. Now, we probably just need to remind you of what happened last week. So your race results for the top 10 last week were Will Redford in P1. Now, Will Redford's not actually with us tonight. Chris was telling me, a little bit of a spin there on the screen in the qualifying session at the Degners. I'm not sure who that was, but we just lost there. So Will Redford, yes, we were just saying, last week's winner won't be with us this evening. He's out. He's not in this race. Also, Jerome Lamy, another frequent flyer here in the Formula 3 League. He's not with us either this evening. So there's actually a couple of those faster, those higher grid positions that we're used to seeing those guys in available for the taking. So there's going to be plenty of people that are going to want to capitalise on that, and make their way into those podium positions potentially this evening. So if you want to get involved in one of these iRacing UK leagues, you've got to head over to the Facebook page. That's facebook.com/iRacing UK. You can also get the guys on IRUK_team. Head over there and send a message, and they'll be quite happy to get you into the Discord group and subsequently registered for a future league. If this looks like your kind of thing, hit them up at iRacing UK. Chris, obviously only one fast repair available to the drivers, so a bit of delicate behaviour required this evening. 100% fuel though, so no stop required. How long are we going to go for? About 30 minutes as per usual?
I think it's going to be just under 30 minutes tonight. I believe it's 14 laps, and obviously they're lapping in around, it'll be an average lap of about 1:51 for the top guys, so we're going to see around a 28-minute race, I think, which, when you're in battles and in a 35 car field, you can't help but be in battles, to be honest. That's going to go incredibly quickly. I think some of the front guys will be hoping there's some shenanigans behind them, because it's nice sometimes to be 4 or 5 seconds out in front in the lead and not having to push that extra 1 or 2% right onto the edge. But I've said this before, I can't get over the strength of field we've got in Season 3. I mean, you're seeing drivers who were pretty good for a top 5 finish in previous seasons who are sort of nearly nowhere at the moment. So I mean, like for example, Rhys Saunders down in 17th, he's got race winning pace, and yet there's 16 guys quicker than him currently, which is pretty fantastic to see. The other thing I'm a little bit gutted by is Jerome Lamy's absence, because I've watched him throughout the week in a nice way. I've watched a few of these drivers, it's not just Jerome, and his pace has been meteoric, so it's a real shame we're not going to see Jerome, who's still chasing his first win in an iRuck F3 League season, who I think it's safe to say he's probably our quickest regular driver that's not won a race yet.
Absolutely right. Yeah, it's either been complete misfortune or errors or the like, or getting involved in maybe a back marker getting in the way. So yeah, plenty of opportunities for Jerome. Been and gone. I'm sure we'll see him come through the to the top spot at some point, and we'll all celebrate here in the commentary booth, because we have absolutely been rooting for him from the start of probably about season 2 actually, when we started watching him. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. So here is your championship standings at the moment as it stands after 2 races. So Will Redford at the top of the table with 202 points, followed by Sam Herman. Then we've got Rhys Saunders, Stuart Milne, Lee Aberdeen, James Cockram, Scott Tuffy, Sean Barnett, Ryan Micallef, and Gavin Petty for your top 10. Beyond that, we've got Alistair Hay, who, as we can see from the timing tower this evening, incredibly quick, looking for a strong finish, I expect, here in Japan. Patrick Rowlands in 12th, followed by Wayne Basson, Daniel Simpson, Nathan Willoughby, Duncan Watts, Steve Hobbs. And then we've got Jack Ralph there in 18th, followed by Martin Devine and Duncan Roberts. Marcus Hudson, Jerome Lamy, Craig Walters, Dare Flock. And then we've also got Mitchell Webb, Dan Mould, Craig Tillotson, Alex Hopkins, Fraser Geraghty, and Rudy Murray for your top 30. And then the final 11 there: Rudy Murray, Graham Nicol, Chris Robinson, Leslie Griffin, Roxy Gibson, David Hatton, Ryan Annals, Colin Nicol, Andrew Morris, Koshi Kelly, Joshua Wilson, and Robert Rowlands.
I've stitched you up a little bit there with that massive, massive grid there, haven't
Yeah,
I?
it was just one lungful after another there, wasn't it? So
Yeah. I didn't
yeah,
realise. I think Josh
save some
Wilson's out
wind
of
for
position
later.
there as well. Really, I mean, second from last. He's again one of our quickest drivers, so I think he'll be
Well,
desperate to try
that's what
and.
happens when you go into retirement and already
Yes.
turn up to the He's basically Martin Brundle at this point, isn't he?
Yeah,
So
well, I'd like to think I'm the original Martin Brundle, although I probably
he was
sound more
back.
like his son. I guess that makes James my son then. It's not James, Josh. Apologies to James, who is probably my dad.
Right, going back to Josh's notes, turn 1 is a magical overtaking place, according to Josh. You should look out for people obviously picking up the slipstream down that main straight and then pulling a maneuver maybe on the outside if you're feeling brave, or a little dive down the right-hand side of your fellow driver on the inside. So you will potentially see a lot of people hugging that pit wall to try and defend the inside line for turn 1. And then we can probably expect to see some kind of 2 or 3 wide attempts into the early laps through the emerging S's turn. So that's kind of like the turn 2, 3 area. One other position that I think we're going to have to look out for as well is going to be Spoon. So Spoon curve, really easy to end up running out wide there. So again, history tells us a little bit about that. We've seen people try and make overtakes there. One notable one would have been Sebastian Vettel. Tried to go down the inside of Max Verstappen there in 2018. The end result being that the Ferrari was sent spinning and the Red Bull got lucky, just running kind of a bit wider to avoid the overall aftermath of the incident. Speaking of Ferraris, 2006, another incident in which Michael Schumacher's prancing horse ran out of ponies, therefore gifting a win to a very then young Renault driving Spaniard, who we've already mentioned tonight when we were talking about 130R. Of course, that's Fernando Alonso. Qualifying is over here this evening now at Suzuka, so we're going to be waiting for our drivers to head to the grid and get ready for the start of this race. I'm really hopeful tonight. We've been looking forward to this one, haven't we, Chris? I think the spirit of Suzuka very much flowing through our veins, as we mentioned earlier. Everything to offer here, everything with hairpins. We've got chicanes, long sweeping bends. Just about everything you could want in a race circuit to make it, beyond remotely interesting. It's quite incredible, actually.
It is one of the absolute classic circuits, and it's difficult to have bad racing here. So I'd like to think we're going to have more of the top quality racing we've been talking about as we come up to the start soon. And actually, I'll tell you who's just turned up last minute is one Jerome Lamy has just shown up on my timing tower. So we're going to have a very interesting, probably not last to first. That would be one of the all-time great drives from Jerome if he does that. He's also got quite good company at the back with Paul Busby and Nathan Willoughby and one of our new runners, Mark Murphy, who has been running reasonably quickly. So we've got some interesting drivers to watch coming through the back. That's not to say the front is going to be all fun and games either. There's plenty of places to make up for those top guys up there, and I'm sure pretty much everyone in the top 10 is going to think, actually, I deserve to be further up the field. So we're going to have our hands full, I think, this evening, trying to cover all of the action, and we should hopefully be able to bring you the grid now, which is just appearing on the screen for you now. Nick, I can run through that for you. Just let your voice rest while you get going.
For the beginning.
And as I say that, of course, SDK has decided to throw a tantrum. So if you just bear with me, let's do the front 6 rows as we've got them in front of us. So Gavin Petty has taken pole, followed by Alistair Hay. Row 2 is Stuart Milne and Matt Laubscher. Row 3, Sam Homer, Lee Aberdeen. Row 4, James Cockram, Scott Tuffy. And rounding out the top 10, we have got Ben White and Josh Wilson, our commentary hero. And then following that, we've got Fraser Geraghty, we've got Sean Barnett, Jack Ralph, Duncan Roberts, Reece Saunders, Dare Flock, and then Mitchell Webb, Martin Devine, Craig Walters, Stephen Hobbs rounds out the top 20. And then in 21st, we've got Alex Hopkins, Ryan Annals is alongside him. Then we've got Patrick Rowlands. Ryan Mikulev in 24th, I would say, is quite out of position. He's shown quite good pace in previous rounds. And then next we've got Chris Robinson, Duncan Watts, James Parfitt, another commentary hero there in 27th, which I must say, for one of his first times in the car, that's pretty great going. Then we've got Colin Nicol, Roxy Gibson, Craig Tillotson, Graham Nicol, David Hatton, and then the 4 aforementioned non-qualifiers, Jerome Lamy, who somehow has sneaked ahead of Paul Busby, Nathan Willoughby and Mark Murphy. So I think they might be a bit cross with that because they've put all the effort into practice and qualifying and are behind someone who's just shown up.
Well, let's see what Jerome can do with that. As we said, not quite the last to first, and if he did make that happen, that would be quite the miracle this evening, I think, here at Suzuka. But yeah, I'm sure crazier things have happened. So we're over here now with all our drivers gridded up, and we've got the lights ready to go. So we're here at Suzuka for the third round, and the lights are out, and this race is underway with Gavin Petty looking like he's got a decent start there, but Alistair Hay also looking strong off the line. Don't forget there's going to be a hell of a slipstream for the cars behind here as they go into the first corner. But look at Gavin Petty's gap that he's got there as he heads into turn one. Looks like Alistair Hayes having to go too wide there. Oh, he's just managed to defend against Stuart Milne. And then Matt Lubscher having a little look at this car number 29 there, trying to slip in as well. He's not quite managed to make too many places up there, but he's tucked in nicely behind the likes of Stuart Milne, and Lee Aberdeen not far behind him there, as everyone's making it nicely, cleanly through the S's at the moment as we head up to Dunlop. A bit of tyre smoke there. Very tricky part here, Dunlop. Possibly got a car off there. I think I can see
Alistair
the cones.
Hay, I think.
Yeah, moving off there. Yeah, Alistair Hay has dropped down the orders from P2. So Alistair Hay, the big loser there on lap one as we go into the Degners. Lots of pressure being put on there across the field. That is incredible stuff that we've got that many cars making it through without incident through those Degners. As we go now into the hairpin, this is the moment where some people thought they might be able to make moves too wide into the hairpin for a few of our drivers there, as car number 35 of Sean Barnett we're keeping an eye on as he comes down into Spoon Curve. He's chasing on behind James Cockram at the moment. I don't think he's going to be quite ready to make a move here. No, he's just going to stick to the rear wing of Cockram. We've got an incident there. That's Matt Lubscher dropping down the order. Matt Lubscher, and I think we've lost another one. That's also Stuart Milne as well. So that's both Stuart Milne, Matt Lubscher and Alistair Hay that we've already lost here. Let's have a look at that replay. They're going to go too wide into Spoon, not where we wanted to see it happen. And Matt Lubscher's the one that's lost it there, and unfortunately Stuart Milne, nothing you could do because that car of Matt Lubscher was just drifting across the circuit right in his way. Real shame for Stuart Milne there, getting caught up in that after a great start in P3. Here's Josh Wilson, commentary hero. He's already up to P5. I believe that's 5 positions that he's gained off the start. Obviously a few losers that we have seen there. Here he goes. He's going to go for that overtake into turn one on the inside. Let's see him do it. Brilliant stuff. Great example of the overtakes that Josh was describing earlier, and he's really performed his commentary duties there by giving us that example and not being here tonight to describe it vocally for you. So great stuff there. Now all of this action means that Lee Aberdeen's ended up in P2, and as we're watching him here through the S's, he's about 2.5 seconds off of Gavin Petty. The real threat for Lee at the moment is Tuffy behind, who's only half a second behind him and chasing quite hard as they enter the Degners now. So we'll have to keep an eye on this because two very competitive drivers. We know Lee Aberdeen's got a lot of pace, but Scott Tuffy here looking like the real challenger for that second position on the podium.
Yeah, we've had a lot going on in the first couple of laps, Nick. I'm not sure how we can cover it all, but as you can see, there's some stories developing throughout the grid. Ryan Mikulev has made up a few places, so he's put paid to us saying that he's off the pace a bit this week. But look who's in front of him there. We've got James Parfitt, who has made up 13 places from the start. So belying his lack of experience in the F3 there, he's having a very good race so far. I really hope I'm not going to be cursing him there. But if we go back a bit further, you can see Paul Busby has made up the 16 places. At one point, Jerome Lamy was alongside him, but he, I think, has had an off because he's back down in 26th. But we've lost a few drivers on lap one. Mark Murphy didn't get going, and we've also lost Roxy Gibson, Alex Hopkins, Colin Nicol have all gone. And I did see James Cockram at one point, I believe, who was running quite high up in the top 10, had an incident into the chicane at the end of the circuit, and is unfortunately running at the back now. So it'll be a recovery job for James yet again, who is one of our more consistent drivers. He's just not having the rub of the green at the moment.
Brilliant stuff, Chris. Thanks for the update there on all of the other happenings that we've missed out on as we go over to turn one here. Oh, there's a car stood still there on the exit of the pit lane. I don't know who that was. That might have been Roxy, possibly. I'm not sure. We'll have to go back to that maybe in a minute. But that gave the opportunity there for I think that was that Hatton that we were just watching. No, sorry, with Sean Barnett and Reece Saunders having a little fight there. So great bit of action that we just caught there on turn 1. I wonder what was going on with that stationary car. That was a real hazard. Not the kind of place with the amount of pace that these guys have got going into turn 1. It's really not the kind of place that we need to see any obstructions. So Sean Barnett, P6 at the moment, into the Degners they go, chasing hard, really good position for Sean Barnett. Reece Saunders behind will surely be wanting to put a bit of pressure on. There's lots of laps to go, so we don't want to be getting too up close and personal at this stage, but surely keeping the pressure on around this incredibly intense circuit of Suzuka is going to be obviously a big priority for the guys that are attacking here. As we see, oh, is that James Parfitt under pressure there? He's managed to hold it together in that hairpin. Great defending there from James, and I think Ryan Micallef behind, who we mentioned earlier, might be a bit out of position a little bit, given these previous results. He's going to be the one that's really pushing James hard here. So let's keep an eye on this fight. But Paul Busby, not far behind them as they enter Spoon. He could also capitalise here. He's already been crafty and made his way up the order with pure kind of skill and taking those opportunities where where it's served him right. You can tell he's an IMSA driver because of all the chaos he has to take advantage of in those multi-class races. And look at this, we've got a great view of people having a look round each other into 130i, but no one's brave enough to try and make the move. And down into the chicane. Who's going to be the big clean exit here that gets all the pace into that pit lane straight? I think everyone's come off relatively even there, so Paul is just going to have to take his moment here, keep an eye on what's going on ahead of him, and see if he can make that move later on. Obviously, this is a great position for Paul to be in at the moment with those, I think, 17 places that he's gained now, according to my SDK over here, Chris. But yeah, let's have a look at Fraser Garrity, a couple of cars ahead. He's actually managed to get past Ryan Micallef in all of that commotion there. And he's the one that's now going to be challenging James as they enter the S's. It looks like James could be the thing that is slowing down this train just a little bit. They're ever so close together on the exit of the S's up towards Dunlop. So maybe we'll see some movement over the next couple of laps as they go around Dunlop now into the Degners. There's Paul Busby having a look around the outside there of Dunlop. Really brave stuff there from Paul. Don't think it's going to come off, though, at this point in time. And also, with only 4 laps in, not the kind of place that we want to try and see that move happen.
So we're going back to a lap or so ago here. Reece Saunders and I believe Sean Barnett have been battling. They've been trading positions repeatedly here. And at the moment, it looks like Reece Saunders has got the best of it as we just come through the final corner here. Reece has got ahead there. And since that's happened, actually, Duncan Roberts appears to have been able to get past Sean Barnett. So we'll go and see how that happened next as well. This is Duncan Roberts with the purple rims, and that's coming into the hairpin. He's gone around the outside there. So Josh Wilson obviously knows what he's talking about. Duncan Roberts has got the run on Sean Barnett there, and is... Oh, it looks like they've actually, since then, that battle is still ongoing. So perhaps we can go and have a look at it.
Again into the chicane here. This is brilliant stuff, and that has allowed Dare Flock to catch up to the back of them as well, not to mention Jack Relf just waiting in the background also. So all of the slipstream in the world here for these guys. So this is going to be a great run down into turn 1. Look ahead as well at the battle that we've got there. That's Josh Wilson as well. I think that's having a fight as well further up ahead. And Reece Saunders, I believe, is that... No, sorry, Sean Barnett that's stayed ahead. Oh, we've got a car in the barrier over there. That's 21. That is Ben White that's dropping down. He's had an incident there into turn 1. Not sure what happened. Maybe we'll go back to that in a minute and see what just got him caught out there as we continue. Oh, here we go. Wheel to wheel into turn 1. Was there contact here? Yes, there was. There was front wheel. Was that Josh Wilson as well that
car
was
number 15, I believe so, yes.
Yeah, that was Josh Wilson, who currently our P4 runner, was trying one of his magic turn 1 manoeuvres there, and the rubber just got a little bit too close, unfortunately, with end result being Ben White off the track and no longer fighting for those top positions. Here we go, back with Sean Barnett and Duncan Roberts. Reece Saunders, isn't it, here that they're fighting? Great stuff from both these guys. It's been a really entertaining race so far in the mid pack or the mid front pack here. They've been absolutely wheel to wheel for the last couple of laps, and I don't think it's going to be stopping anytime soon. Duncan Roberts and Sean Barnett swapping places again as they go around Spoon Bend there. This is great stuff to be continuing to watch. And look at Dare Flock just hanging on to the back here as he's got a great exit there, has Dare. Let's see what he can do. He's going to dive out to the right, but that's going to... Oh, no, that's Duncan that's blocked him there. He's going to have to let off, but can he go around the outside at 130? I know they got incredibly close, but nobody quite brave enough to make that move there. They're slowing each other down so much now with this fight as they're only 6 laps in. We don't want to see any contact in this. They've all raced each other incredibly cleanly so far. Some great action from the likes of Roberts, Barnett and Flock here. As we go now down on the pit straight, look, Dare Flock actually staying in a straight line while these guys jinxing left and right into turn 1. Bit too much distance for a move to be made here, but let's see if car number 22 can close the gap up. He can, just on the exit of turn 1 there. Look how close he's managed to get to the back of Sean Barnett as they head into the S's. Surely Duncan Roberts is going to be in a position to line this move up and get the overtake done very soon.
Yeah, it's been a good battle between these two. You can see Sean really doesn't want to give that place up with the amount he was just trying to break the toe on the main straight there. He's got the advantage so far on Duncan, who was a bit of a sitting duck into 130R. You could see the amount of speed that Dare Flock and Sean Barnett had. And Duncan was pretty lucky, really, in the end that 130R came up when it did, because he was about to lose 2 positions on one straight. But at the moment, this battle is still ongoing, and it's got Jack Ralph just under a second behind, just biding his time at the moment. He's having a pretty steady race so far, started 13th up to 9th. He's doing pretty well there, and we've got another very close battle just a little bit further back here, which I believe Mitchell Webb is at the front of a very long train here with Martin Devine, Fraser Geraghty, Ryan Micallef, James Parfitt and Sam Hermer for company.
Yeah, well, as you were just talking a minute ago, I was watching the names switch around on
dear.
the timing tower, and that's James Parfitt out of this race. He's got a nose cone missing. He's just managed to get it back on the track without causing any damage. That's into Spoon, and he's just going to have to try and stay out of the way. That's the whole front end of the car missing, and that is going to require that fast repair for him to continue in this race. Now, luckily, he is towards the end of the lap, so he will be able to get into the pits. Let's go over to 13th place. Paul Busby, Ryan Micallef, and Sam Hermer here. I believe we're looking at, and look at that. That is some incredible racing here from these guys as they go into the final chicane here. Lots of curb being picked up. That's going to cost a bit of time. And car number 55 there with a poor exit by the looks of it. That has been, that has cost, I think, is that 55? Is that, oh, it's Martin Devine that we've got there. Sorry, yeah, I was just reading I thought it was Alistair Hay for a minute. I think it's the flag on the front wing that gets me confused.
Yes, I've done that as well. I just see the Scottish flag and assume it's Alistair Hay.
We've got a Scots club here, haven't we, with about 4 of them running the same or similar livery. Oh, there's another car in the barrier over there. Who's that dropping down? That's Duncan Roberts dropping down. So Duncan Roberts has come off poorly from that fight that he was in, obviously, with Sean Barnett, and that was him off at turn 1. Chris, can you think we can see if we can get a replay of that?
Yes,
maybe,
we're going to see if we can get that
find
lined
out.
up.
Yeah, well,
this is it.
Here we go.
Oh, that's just a bit after
just
it.
off. Just after, yeah, but that looks like he's possibly had some contact. That didn't look like
That's
just
around the outside of turn 1, I believe.
Yeah, it didn't look like just a spin of his own accord, did it? Here we go, round the outside of Barnett. Yeah, and it's similar to the, not quite the same. They were a bit more side by side there, but also similar to the Wilson incident, wasn't it, earlier on in the race? So people getting very brave there into turn 1. Obviously, Josh called it. It's a magical space for overtakes, but it's also a magical place for complete dramas for some of our drivers this evening. So we'll keep an eye on turn 1 as this race evolves. Here we go with Mr. Wilson, picking up a bit of grass there in a straight line. Not sure I may just managed that, but he has got Reece Saunders now chasing him down. Reece in a very strong position now in the top 5. We did say earlier he looked to be a bit out of position, not quite as quick as we thought. But here he is, obviously. Oh, we've lost Wilson there on the exit of the chicane. He's just managed to keep it under control, getting sideways tyre smoke everywhere for Josh Wilson. But luckily, no damage on that car, and maybe, just maybe, he'll be able to wrangle in those lap times and put a bit of a chase on Wilson. On Reece there. Let's see what happened. Reece was putting the pressure on, and then on the exit, it looked like Josh just got a bit squiffy there, didn't he? Oh yeah, just a bit too much. I think perhaps lit the tyres up on the left-hander, and that's just sent him pointing the wrong way a little bit there.
Yep, it's easily done. I think we have had, well, Dare Flock and Sean Barnett, it appears, have had contact as well. They've both come into the pits together, so they're now dropping down the order. So it just goes to show, the guys who've had that early incident. So Jerome's had a few offs, but he's back up to 15th. James Cockram is back up to 25th. Matt Lausch is in 21st. So, there's still plenty going on throughout the field, but this is also going to make it so much more dangerous for everyone. As they're sort of, we've got these pace disparities throughout the field, and we're going to have action everywhere, basically. So actually, we can go and have a look at Matt Lausch to see how he's getting on with this recovery drive. He's got Sean Barnett and David Hatton for company at the moment. David is another one who's had a very sensible race so far. He started in 32nd, so to get up to 19th, he'll be very pleased with that, but probably less pleased having two very rapid drivers in Barnett and Lausch right behind him, as it looks like Barnett has got the move done.
Yeah, that's a bit of grass being picked up there by car number 32. That's a shame for David Hatton. He was running ever so well, as you just mentioned there, and then getting pushed or getting maybe just pressured into going a little bit wide there. Now, Matt Lubscher not far behind Sean Barnett, who we've been watching earlier this evening. I'm sure Matt, with the pace that we know he's got, will make short work of that manoeuvre at some point. Here's Craig Tillotson. Nathan Willoughby behind him into Spoon. There you go, a lovely iRacing UK livery on the on Tillotson's car there. Now they're going down the straight here up towards the 130i. It looks like they're going to be pretty much sideways as well. I think car number 8 there with the better exit, that's Nathan Willoughby, who's actually managed to get the overtake done. So before he's even made it to 130r, the slipstream was enough to have it done, and that's a great bit of manoeuvring from Nathan as they now enter the final chicane of this lap. So lap 9 out of 15, so we're over the halfway point now. Absolutely churning through the laps this evening. These guys on some blinding pace. Excuse me there. Gavin Petty out ahead, completely unbothered by the rest of the pack and what's going on around him at the minute by the looks of it. 3.6 seconds ahead he has to Tuffy. We mentioned the Tuffy and Aberdeen kind of scrap earlier. Looks like since then Tuffy's actually managed to get the job done, and now Lee Aberdeen resides in 3rd place ahead of Saunders. Wilson still a little bit further back from Saunders. He's not managed to close that gap up. We'll go and have a little look, though, at a different battle a bit further down the order. This is Devine here and Mikolev, I believe. Oh, no, is it...
I think it's Garetti in front, and
Garetti,
they've got Mikolev about a
ahead,
second and a
isn't
half
it? Yeah.
behind.
That's the one. So, yes, absolutely. So, Devine here chasing down Garetti. I believe Garrity a fresh face to the league, isn't he? Season 3, so we hadn't seen him prior to season 3 in either 1 or 2. So great to see some new faces here in iRacing. Oh, and there goes Martin. He's lost it on the exit of Spoon there. That is a shame for Martin. Oh, he's got to enter that circuit safely. There's a few cars coming round, and that's going to allow people like Hay, Busby, White, Mikolev. Ben White, let's bear in mind, that was a driver that had an incident earlier as well, Chris, and he's back up into the top 10 now after having that off at turn 1 earlier. Let's have a look at him now as he's under incredible pressure here from Alistair Hay, who's going to go up the inside on the chicane. This is great. They're getting ever so close together. They've kept it nice and clean into the exit. Alistair Hay's got the job done. Ben White has to let that one go. And just as we said he'd made it back up into the top 10, he's lost it all again. But we've got the slipstream here to bear in mind. And as we said earlier, Josh's notes, people are going to be hugging the wall into turn 1 to try and maintain that inside line. And here they go. Is Alistair Hay going to be able to maintain that position? He is. He's got it tucked in on the inside. And nothing that Ben can do about that one as we go into the first turn of lap 10. But look at them going into the S's side by side all the way up here, neither of them wanting to let go of that place. Alistair Hay now the one that's coming off worse as they come up the hill into Dunlop. Now really easy to push it too hard here in Dunlop and push it out to the outside, catch the grass and spin the car. Looks like Ben's got it under control though, and he lives to fight another day with Alistair Hay staying behind after an incredible fight there into the first half of the circuit.
Yeah, that was very brave from Ben, especially after the incident earlier with Josh. I think a lesser driver would have perhaps backed out there, but he's proving he's got the pace here. Alistair Hay is no mug. He qualified second on merit, and there Ben White is. you know, that's a very solid move from him, especially if you coming through the chicane on the previous lap, giving each other no inch whatsoever, but not having any incidents for it. So again, it's just F3 can sometimes get that reputation for being a crash fest, and we can't deny there have certainly been crashes throughout the seasons we've had. But when the racing is good, my God, I don't think it gets any better than it does here.
Absolutely, we knew we were going to be stoked for this evening. We were really excited to see the kind of action and the laps that we were going to get here at Suzuka, and so far it has delivered absolutely everything we wanted. We've had overtakes into all the corners we expected to. As we go on board with Alistair Hay here, as he comes up back to where he gained the position in the last lap, but actually he's decided, no, I'm going to hold off this time. Oh, that looked like a bit deep on the braking there from Ben White ahead of him. And Alistair Hay now going to line it up for the slipstream manoeuvre into turn one, just the same way that Ben White tried it on him on the last lap. He's had to think about it, and Alice has gone with a different tactic this time around. Try the move one corner later, and it might play off. There he goes, nice and deep on the brakes for Alistair Hay, and he's kept the position there, I think. Looks like he's got it done this time. Ben can't really fight back on this occasion. Alistair Hay, I take my hat off to you, sir. Fantastic manoeuvre as we enter the 11th lap of this race. Only 4 to go now, and 4 more to look forward to is what I say there. A little bit further back, I think I've just seen Lamey possibly get overtaken by Paul Busby. I'm not sure if that was quite right on the timing tower, but that's the battle that would be behind us next, I think. Here we go. This is Jerome Lamey. What happens to him? Yeah, is it Busby getting around him? It is.
So
I think,
he's passing Paul Busby, and then I believe going off track. I'm not sure if this is part of the same move. Perhaps he's outbraked himself into turn one, or perhaps it's a bit later on the lap. So we've got the developing story. Yeah, this is coming through the S's on the same lap. And let's see what happens to Jerome here. I think, he's just been greedy on the curb. I think as the temperatures rise a bit, it's very easy to do that, especially if the conditions are different to what you're used to from the officials. You can just so easily lose it here, and we can go and have a look at what is now the closest battle on the track between 5 cars, I believe, or is that 4 there actually? Yeah, 4 cars.
Yeah, it's about 4 by the looks of it, Chris. So we've got Matt Lubscher there going down the inside of Spoon. Is he going to be able to do it? No, he's not on this occasion. Well, he's got round car number 31 there of I think that was Dare Flock, and the Matt Lubscher now challenging Nathan Willoughby ahead in car number 8 as they go down in the straight to 130R. I expect Matt Lubscher to be quite comfortable trying to get the move done here, but it's really a case of if he's got the pace or not, which I don't think he has, because he's not got the slipstream, has he? No, but he's still going to go around the outside. Brilliant move from Matt Lubscher. There's plenty of cars behind it that want a piece of the action as well. Into the chicane, late on the brakes. Car 31 was a big winner there as well. Got tucked in behind Matt Lubscher, and that was Dare Flock that also took a position off Nathan Willoughby. Brilliant stuff from Dare Flock. Really, really advantageous for him, with Matt Lubscher pushing everybody else into those very pressured positions through the tail end of that lap. That's great stuff as they now go down for the big dive into turn one. Matt Lubscher maintains it, but there's all that. I think that was Nathan Willoughby, wasn't it, that just got punted, or just gently nudged off track by Sean Barnett into turn one. We've seen it a few times there, and again, wheel-to-wheel action. It did. We said earlier the margins are so fine. It's really inch by inch stuff with these guys, and once again we've just seen it proved. Oh, yeah, there you go. That was another one of those front wheel, rear wheel incidents where there's just a bit of contact, and it just means that one person's gonna lose out in that situation.
Yeah, I've been a bit surprised that turn one has been the flashpoint so far. I was expecting the chicane at the end, and we saw on the last lap 2 banks of 2 wide there. It's a recipe for disaster normally, and they've negotiated that nice and safely, only to have the incident going into the first corner. I suspect some of that is, and we saw on the previous lap with one of the other chaps, where they were just lifting into the chicane behind the driver, because they know that if they can get that perfect launch out of the chicane onto the main straight, not only can they make that move into turn one, it's so much harder to retake that position through the S's. So it just makes it more defensible. It's drivers thinking ahead a bit, and it's good to see that strategizing. It's just very unfortunate it's led to 2 or 3 incidents into that turn one tonight, unfortunately.
Well, speaking of incidents, is Jerome Lamey, who's obviously had a couple of offs this evening. We've only got Paul Busby ahead of him with a little bit of front wing damage by the looks of it on Paul Busby's car, front left there if you're watching. And down into turn one they go, down the pit straight. I believe that Lamey's going to have this one done very comfortably. Yeah, he's got the straight line speed on Paul there. and into turn 1 they go. But I mean, it was only a couple of corners later that he lost it last time, so we'll keep an eye on it. But otherwise, great effort to see him back up there in P12 after obviously starting very, very far back down the grid for both these guys this evening. A battle further down the order. Your namesake, Mr. Rowlands here in P22. That's Patrick we're looking at. Car number 51. Behind him, Dave Hatton in car number 32. And we've got someone sweeping across there. Who was that? Was that
James Cochran, which is for position, I believe.
Although, was he coming out the pits or was he
no,
breaking
that
the
was
toe?
He was breaking the toe and our timing tower was hiding him.
Hidden behind the timing tower.
Pro strategy.
Yeah. And, well, okay, great. So, Cochran, obviously one that we know is very quick here. So maybe this is the recovery driver we were hoping to see, but obviously not quite come through yet for James. Rowlands behind only by about half a second at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on that fight, maybe a little bit as it develops. I believe Webb is chasing quite hard behind Ralph at the minute, but we've also got the likes of Lubscher still fighting in the middle here with Dare Flock, Stuart Milne behind them, and then Devine ahead. So Devine, who we saw have that little bit of an incident earlier, got a bit out of shape in Spoon, I believe it was. Now Matt Lubscher going to be the person looking to challenge him. Here they come down the long straight up towards 130R. I'm not sure that Lubscher's going to be quite ready to do it on this one, but he's definitely going to be ready to have a little look at the chicane, and he moves to the outside here. Will he be able to do it around the outside? On the entry, he's done it, and that's great, tidy manoeuvring there from Matt Lubscher. Moves himself up into 15th position this evening, and his next target will be Mr. Watts. But I don't know that he's going to be able to do much with only a lap to go. Now, let's not forget that the slipstream incredibly powerful here, and Devine's looking to have that again. Dives to the inside on Lubscher, but Lubscher very confident on his braking there, leaves it nice and late, keeps the car under control, and he's got a reasonable exit, which should see him into the S's quite comfortably here ahead of his competitor.
That was very smart car placement from Matt Lubscher there, because he didn't commit to either side there, and it just forces Devine to have to make a decision, and very difficult to do, because if you go on the outside there, you've got to really, really pay attention to what the other guy is doing as you're trying to go past him. If you commit to the inside, you're compromising your entrance, which makes it so much harder to overtake. By taking that middle line, Lubscher just put that little bit of doubt in Devine's mind, and it's allowed him to keep that position, and it's also allowed Dare Flock to get right up behind Devine as well. So Lubscher will be hoping that he can now pull away.
Well, I need to break in for a minute here into your little conversation flow, because Alistair Hay putting a lot of pressure on Ryan Micallef there into Spoon. I thought he was going to try the move into Spoon there for a minute. It was very, very close between those guys, but it looks like he's going to have to try and stay tucked in for that run down to 130R, and he's got a lot more pace. Micallef, by the looks of it, he dives to the left of the car ahead of him, and I think he's going to have it done on pure straight line speed there into 130R. That's brilliant stuff from Alistair Hay, and just what we wanted to see here in the closing stages of this race. We're on to the white flag lap now, and into the chicane they go with Hay still ahead. But a bit more exit speed for car 71 there. We've got one off there. That's Devine off at the exit there, and that might have just caused all the other guys to slow down. But Ben White now really pushing quite hard. There's a slipstream there. I'm sure into turn 1 we're going to see a move. But let's see what happened to Garrity here. On the exit, picked up a bit too much of the green stuff. Yeah, he did. And then just span it, rolled across the circuit, luckily out of the way of everybody else there. So unfortunate there for Fraser. Now, let's go back to Ryan Micallef and Alistair Hay, because this is the P8, P9 battle here. Top 10 stuff, and then Ben White behind them also looking to pick up the pieces. Hay looking like the stronger driver now, just starting to grow that gap away from Micallef as they go through Dunlop. And I don't think that Ryan's going to be able to put much of a challenge on into the Degners, but Ben White is the one that I'm more interested in here, because he wants this position off of Micallef, I think, on the last lap, and that's a great exit that he's got there. Micallef struggling for grip, moves to the inside here, does Ben White, and he's going to go for it under braking. Is he going to be able to do it? Inch close stuff from these guys up the inside, and he's got the better exit, and he's away. That's brilliant stuff from Ben White. Will Micallef be able to challenge into Spoon? They're very, very close, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. This is going to be Oh, we're going to just watch Gavin Petty now just head over the line. Your winner this evening. Well done there to Gavin Petty, who we haven't seen at all this evening. And there goes Ryan Micallef up the inside of Spoon. Wheel to wheel stuff, and there's contact there on the straight. They're going to be going side by side all the way down to 130R. This could be an absolute to the last corner battle here. We've got to keep an eye on this. Ahead of them, Alistair Hay just charging away. Here we go into 130R. Tucked in behind goes Micallef. Right behind Ben White. The chicane is the last opportunity to get it done as they're going to go side by side. Not quite there. Oh, there goes Ben White on the inside. Ryan Micallef tucked in behind. He's not going to be able to do it. And I think that's going to be a Ben White win. That's just Ben White staying ahead there. Let's just see as they go over the line side by side. And Ben White is the victor out of those two there. A bit further back down the order, here's Duncan Watts. Close in behind Martin Devine, who we've seen have a couple of incidents. These guys now battling for positions in the kind of middle pack here, and all relatively staying in a similar order there. By looks, no overtakes over the line. Great racing from all of these guys, and we've had our fair share of overtakes, incidents, side by side action, contact. It's been fantastic this evening. 16 laps is all it took to get us excited, and bloody hell, it was brilliant. What a great race this evening here at Suzuka. Absolutely thrilling stuff here from all of our drivers. Turn 1, what a spot that was for incidents. Now, famously, Mark Webber did refer to Roman Grosjean as the first lap nutcase for shunting him into Turn 1. And Nigel Mansell also went incredibly wide chasing Senna at Turn 1 in 1991. That cost him the championship. I wonder how many of those incidents have cost people points this evening. They're going to make a big difference later on down this Formula 3 league. Chris, incredible stuff. I mean, you've been trying to keep up with the camera angles while I've been trying to chat over some of the action. Any standout moments for you there?
Well, I think that the battles that Ben White was involved in seemed to be where the most action was, and Ben, funnily enough, has ended up exactly where he started for all of that adrenaline. Started 9th, finished 9th. The only other guy in the top 10 to do that is Gavin Petty, who's had the sort of standard, the race we always seem to have for the leaders in these, which is you get that 2 or 3 second gap, and you can just drive a little bit safer. And obviously, these top guys have got so much pace that their safe driving is still extraordinarily fast. And I mean, Scott Taffy was pumping out fastest lap after fastest lap, trying to keep up with Gavin, but I think Gavin's consistency won out in the end. But it's been a quiet race for all the top 4. We didn't really mention Lee Aberdeen or Reece Saunders either. And Reece has had, in particular, a very good drive to haul himself up from what I think he will imagine is not a qualifying that reflects his overall pace, as his race finish has shown us. So we can now get the official results up, which if you'd like to run through, Nick.
Absolutely. So Gavin Petty, your race winner this evening in P1, followed by Scott Tuffy in P2. Great little fight that we saw between Scott and Lee Aberdeen, who is your P3 runner. Great drive from Lee. Really good to see him on the podium after some calamities, dramas, and whoopsies in previous rounds gone by. As you mentioned, Reece Saunders there in P4. Great response to his qualifying performance. And then Josh Wilson at 5 places in P5. Thanks very much for the intel on the track. You were absolutely right, sir. Jack Ralph in 6th, followed by Mitchell Webb. Then there's Alistair Hay, Ben White, Ryan Micallef, Jerome Lamy, who obviously started from the back in 11th. Great race from him. And then Fraser Geraghty, Paul Busby, Matt Lubscher, Def Lock, Martin Devine, Duncan Watts. And then you've got Stuart Milne there in 18th position, followed by Craig Tillotson in 19th. And then James Cockram around out your top 20. Patrick Rowlands, Craig Walters, James Parfitt, Steve Hobbs, David Hatton, Chris Robinson, Ryan Annals, Roxy Gibson, Graham Nichol, Alex Hopkins, Sean Barnett, Colin Nichol, Nathan Willoughby, Samuel Hermer, Duncan Roberts, and Mark Murphy comes in P36. So that is the order for the evening. So obviously it's some cars there that we don't expect to see further back. Sam Hermer, we're seeing further back down there in the order there. We saw a great race from James Parfitt until that incident later on in the session as well. So a shame to have seen James end up getting a bit of damage and have to go into the pits for that nose cone replacement that we saw earlier. Jerome Lamy, great performance as well, having brought himself back up the order. And all of those other guys that we've obviously seen struggling a little bit with incidents and stuff. Now, again, if you want to get involved in this action, head over to www.facebook.com/iRacingUK. Get invited to the Discord, get registered for a league, and you might be one of the drivers that we see on our screens one evening in the future. The next races coming up are going to be the Hockenheim Ring. That's on October the 12th. October the 19th sees us at Motorsport as tonight, Canadian Tire. And then on the 26th of the month, we'll also have the WeatherTech Raceway. So that's Laguna Seca. So brilliant racing coming up over October for you in the Formula 3 League. The last thing that we really have to do here this evening is say a big thank you to obviously everybody that's watching us this evening on the broadcast. Thank you to our drivers for getting involved. And obviously thank you to yourself, Chris, for providing us with all the visuals this evening and a touch of your own experience from the Formula 3.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Another F3 race where we're all going to have a bit of a lie down afterwards because so much happened. But it was excellent racing nonetheless.
Absolutely. Well, from all of us here at Total Sim Sport Broadcast, it's a thank you and good night.